My husband abandoned us to chase his Grateful Dead obsession, and I've reached my breaking point. The day my husband chose to leave us for a Grateful Dead concert was the day I realized I was done. For years, he had been a dedicated Deadhead, his entire identity revolving around this band. He had seen them over 50 times, and I never really minded his passion. But everything changed after my accident 2 years ago. That accident left me unable to work, and now we rely on my small disability check, which barely covers our rent. Dead and Company, the remaining members of the Grateful Dead, announced their final tour. Living on the East Coast, my husband had already seen them twice on this tour, despite our financial struggles. But a few days ago, he crossed a line. He took out a loan and bought tickets to see their last show in San Francisco, including round-trip airfare, hotel accommodations, and other expenses. He left me and our kids with $10 and some loose change, a huge middle finger to us. School is about to start, and our kids need supplies and clothes. We have a list of things we need, but he chose to spend our money on a concert instead. We won't starve over the weekend, but I can't even afford to buy the kids a pizza while their dad enjoys himself across the country with his online Deadhead family. I've always tried to support his passion, but this time, he's gone too far. He refused to discuss the cost, but my rough estimate was around $1,000, and it might be even more. This weekend, while he's having the time of his life, I'm planning my divorce. I've had enough of diluting essentials like shampoo or living off rice and beans, just for him to take out a loan for a solo trip to a concert. As I sit here, I can't help but reflect on everything we've been through. We used to be so happy, sharing dreams and building a life together. But now, it feels like those dreams have been shattered. I remember the days when we would laugh together, plan our future, and support each other through thick and thin. But this is too much. I'm tired of being the one who sacrifices. I'm tired of being the one who has to make ends meet while he chases his dreams. It's not fair to me, and it's certainly not fair to our kids. They deserve better than this. They deserve a father who puts their needs first, not his own selfish desires. Update. I can't believe the support I've received here. I feel better knowing there are decent and kind people out there. Divorce is inevitable now. My husband might not be a total monster, and I could list 1,000 good things about him on any other day, but this betrayal is too much. We're barely scraping by, and his selfish act has put us thousands of dollars in debt overnight. I can't work miracles and pull money out of thin air. I'm not telling my husband I'm leaving yet. He'll come home and talk about how amazing the concert was, how he wishes I could have been there, and how he'll make it up to me someday. I hate it. I can't explain how hurt, shocked, tired, and angry I am. For those calling me a leech, remember that I worked from age 16 until my accident. There were times I was the breadwinner, supporting him because that's what partners do. I'm on disability because I paid into a system designed to help people like me. Update. I didn't expect to update so soon, but he found out. Someone shared my post on Facebook. He's angry, saying I've made him look like an asshole. I told him I just vented without naming him, and if people think he's an asshole based on his actions, it's on him. I'm so nervous, shaking, and feel like I might vomit. Reflecting on my life, I realize how much I've changed. I used to be so hopeful and optimistic. I believed in the power of love and the strength of our relationship. But now I see things differently. Love isn't enough if it's not backed by actions. Love isn't enough if it's one-sided. It has to be backed by a willingness to put each other first. I remember the day we got married. It was a beautiful sunny day, and we were so in love. We promised to support each other through thick and thin, to always be there for each other. My husband used to be my rock. He was the one I turned to when things got tough. But now, I can't rely on him. He's more interested in his own happiness than in taking care of his family. And that's something I can't forgive. I've always been the strong one, the one who holds everything together. But now, I feel like I'm falling apart. I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of responsibilities and disappointments. But I know I can't give up. I have to keep going, for my kids and for myself. My kids are my everything. They are the reason I get up in the morning, the reason I keep fighting. They deserve a better life, a life free from financial stress and emotional turmoil. And I will do everything in my power to give them that life. I've been through a lot in my life, but this is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Leaving my husband, starting over, building a new life for my kids and myself. But I know it's the right thing to do. I used to be afraid of change. I used to cling to the familiar, even when it wasn't good for me. But now I see change as an opportunity. An opportunity to grow, to learn, to become the person I was always meant to be. This journey won't be easy, but it will be worth it. I will find happiness, I will find peace, and I will build a better life for my kids and for myself. Thank you for listening, for supporting me, and for reminding me that I'm not alone. I will never forget the kindness and compassion you've shown me. And to anyone going through a similar situation, know that you are not alone. Know that you have the strength to get through this. And know that there is always hope, no matter how dark things may seem. Goodbye, and thank you. Relevant comments. Minty 676, divorce him. He has made it clear he doesn't care about you or your kids. Anyone that's selfish needs to be held accountable, and the only way to do that is by leaving him. OP, I'm finally realizing this. He's always been a bit selfish, but usually it's smaller things like buying one of his fam birthday rounds with our last $5, and we were already struggling because his last 2 East Coast shows really set us back hard. He missed work for both those shows, but we could have skimmed by it because he used his PTO for those shows. But not only did he take out a loan for San Fran, he has no PTO left, and he's missing 3 days of work, which means his next paycheck is going to be super slim, and we'll have a new loan payment to make. I'm expecting this to set us back at least 2 or 3 months, but probably more. The kids go back to school in a month. The youngest had a massive growth spurt, and literally none of his clothes fit. He's got a single pair of jeans, 2 pairs of shorts, and I think 5 t-shirts that he can still wear. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm tired of making all these sacrifices, just so he can go do whatever he feels like. French Musher Zerom. That is shockingly bad. He doesn't care if you and his own children are low on food and necessities. If he's gotten this low, who knows what he will do in the future, and you said he's always been selfish. This goes beyond selfish, and I agree with all the other comments about divorce. There's no going back from this, at least that's my opinion. I wouldn't be able to ever see him the same again, and I'd be absolutely heartbroken. I'm sorry he did this. Don't let anyone downplay his actions. OOP, I keep going back and forth between heartache and rage. We've been together for almost 20 years, and I cannot believe he would stoop so low to just leave us like that. Life feels so unreal right now. I have a doc appointment this week that I'm gonna have to call and cancel first thing Monday morning because I don't have the money for it anymore. This is so fucked. It's 8 in the morning and I didn't sleep at all last night up worrying about this stuff. I can't wrap my head around it. Filing for divorce tomorrow, but I'm in the middle of a lawsuit. Will either of these affect the other? I was injured in a work-related accident that has severely affected my mobility. And this process has been ridiculously slow, in part because my lawyer told me we needed to know how well I might expect to recover, and a slew of other things. And those things require time and doctors. I've been basically guaranteed a fairly large settlement. The problem is I'm planning on filing for divorce tomorrow. I had a fairly solid career before my accident while my husband sort of skipped from job to job. I was fine with that at the time, but I'm on disability now and my husband has made a series of increasingly awful financial decisions that, well, let's just say they're bad, and I can't stay married to him anymore. Are either of us entitled to alimony? Will he be entitled to any of this settlement when it comes through? If I collect child support from him, is that going to have any bearing on my other case? I'm calling my attorney and maybe a divorce attorney tomorrow if my current attorney can't do it. Hopefully he can recommend someone, but I don't know how long it'll take to set up a meeting, and I guess I just wanted to ask here first, so I'll have some kind of heads up. Married almost 20 years in South Carolina, if that matters. My accident was about 2 years ago. He's never acted as my caretaker or anything because I stayed at my mother's home with our children, where she did most of the caretaking when I actually required it. Dark moonstruck, he shouldn't be, but this is something you should talk to your divorce lawyer about. They'll have far more information and the steps you will need to take to protect yourself and your kids. This is a little above Reddit's pay grade. OP, I'm planning on doing that ASAP. I'm just very nervous and freaking out a little because of course everything blew up over the weekend when all of the offices are closed. Nanin can't get here fast enough. Thank you though. My fave sound disquiet. Congrats on moving on, it's never easy. I think that the settlement/payment should be separate property if received after the legal separation/filing date. When you file, you list community assets/debts and separate property debts, which include things you had before the marriage and had after the separation. I would think that since you don't have a judgment or payment yet, you should be entitled to that as separate property. OP, thank you. It's been nerve-wracking and kind of scary. When you file, you list community assets/debts and separate property debts, which include things you had before the marriage and had after the separation. This part scares me. A few days ago I found out he'd taken out a loan for personal reasons. I have no idea where or how much it was for, all I know is I didn't get a dime of it. I tried to guesstimate how much he got based on his plans, but I've been told by others that number is likely way off. I'm worried that he's done this before because while he makes decent money, we've been so broke and barely scraping by. After bills and stuff, he should have at least $500 and left over every month, more if he's had any raises since starting, but we can't even afford the basics anymore. So if it turns out he's been getting credit cards or other loans and owes a ton of money without my knowledge, am I on the hook for that? Even if I didn't benefit from it in any way? Lampocian lady, unfortunately, most likely the answer is yes. Sign up for a credit monitoring service and run a credit report. Better yet, sign up for 2 accounts, one in his name. You'll be able to see what loans and credit cards are taken out and account payment history and balances. And importantly, lock your credit so he can't take out more cards or loans. You'll have to lock with all 3 credit score companies. Do this now.